Welcome to HornbillTV. This is your anchor, Kekrizan Solo, heading on to the headlines. PM Modi declared the conclusion of the second-day G20 summit and handed over the gavel of G20 presidency to the President of Brazil, Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva. Women's representatives from different parts of Manipur stormed the Chief Minister's bungalow at Bapupara on Sunday, complaining of what they claimed was excesses allegedly committed by Central Security Forces. Morocco's government said that the death toll has crossed 2,000 and around 1,500 injured after a powerful quake of 6.8 magnitude hit Morocco on Friday. Former Andhra Pradesh Chief Minister and Telugu Desam Party President N. Chandra Babu Naidu, who was arrested in connection with alleged 371 crore skill development, was produced before a court in Vijayawada Sunday morning. Now for the news in details. Addressing the closing remark of the historic G20 summit, PM Modi said, "In these 2 days, all gave a lot of suggestions and placed proposals, and now it is India's duty that the suggestions received be reviewed once again and see how their progress can be sped up." He also proposed to hold a virtual session of G20 at the end of November and expressed his hope to connect with all the leaders during the virtual session. With this, PM Modi declared the conclusion of the second-day G20 Delhi summit. Prime Minister Narendra Modi further handed over the gavel of G20 presidency to the President of Brazil, Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva. India will be holding the responsibility of G20 presidency till November 2023.
Excellencies, जैसा आप सब जानते हैं, भारत के पास नवंबर तक G20 प्रेसिडेंसी की भी जिम्मेदारी है। अभी 2.5 महीने बाकी हैं। इन 2 दिनों में आप सभी ने अनेक बातें यहां रखी हैं, सुझाव दिए हैं, बहुत सारे प्रस्ताव रखे हैं। हमारी ये जिम्मेदारी है कि जो सुझाव आए हैं उनको भी एक बार फिर देखा जाए कि उनकी प्रगति में गति कैसे लाई जा सकती है। मेरा प्रस्ताव है कि हम नवंबर के अंत में G20 का एक वर्चुअल सेशन और रखें। उस सेशन में हम इस समिट के दौरान तय विषयों की समीक्षा कर सकते हैं। इन सब की डिटेल्स हमारी टीम आप सभी के साथ शेयर करेगी। मैं उम्मीद करता हूं कि आप सब इससे जुड़ेंगे। योर हाइनेसेस, एक्सेलेंसीज, इसी के साथ मैं G20 समिट के समापन की घोषणा करता हूं। वन अर्थ, वन फैमिली, वन फ्यूचर का रोड मैप सुखद हो। स्वस्ति अस्तु विश्वस्य, यानी संपूर्ण विश्व में आशा और शांति का संचार हो।
Women's representatives from different parts of Manipur stormed the Chief Minister's bungalow at Bapupara on Sunday, complaining of what they claimed was excesses allegedly committed by Central Security Forces. While some representatives are allowed inside and meet Chief Minister N. Biren Singh, others waited outside the residence. The women representatives held talk with the Chief Minister for about 30 minutes. After coming out of the bungalow, the representatives said they discussed matter related to alleged excesses committed by Central Security Forces at Palel. The representatives said they are demanding the removal of the Assam Rifles from the state. Further, the representatives told HornbillTV that the Chief Minister responded by saying efforts to restore normalcy in the state was on. However, the women representative said they were not satisfied with the reply given by the Chief Minister.
आज हम लोग क्यों आया है यहाँ पे बहुत सारा लड़की औरत लोग, क्योंकि जो कल परसों जो पलेल में जो हुआ है, जो असम राइफल का जो करतूत है, जो बहुत इसको कंडेम बहुत करते हैं हम लोग। तो ये शुरुआत से ही जब से यहाँ पे असम राइफल आया है, हम एक साइड ही ले रहे हैं, वो लोग कुकी की साइड ही ले रहे हैं। हम लोगों का ना तो मैतेई लोग जो पीपल है उन लोगों के साथ मदद नहीं कर रहा है। तो हम लोग ये बोल रहे हैं, हम लोग खुद की लड़ाई खुद लड़ना चाहते हैं। जो स्टेट फोर्स है उसके साथ हम लोग लड़ाई, हम लोग डिफेंस करेंगे। ये असम राइफल जो इनको जल्दी हटाइए, ये बोलने के लिए आया हम लोग। सर ऑलरेडी हम लोग सर भी ट्राई कर रहे हैं, मतलब बातचीत करेंगे ऐसा बोला है, फाइनल तो नहीं हुआ है। हम लोगों का जो मकसद है वो पूरा नहीं हुआ तो उतना कुछ नहीं हुआ। ये डिफरेंट एरिया से आया है, ना तो ओनली एक ही जगह पे नहीं है, अलग अलग सलाह। ना तो हम लोग लीडर्स है, हम लोगों को कोई लीडर्स नहीं है, हम लोग नॉर्मल पीपल लोग हैं। हम लोग आगे का स्टेप तो आगे का स्टेप तो क्या होगा कि जब एक्शन पे आएगा तब से वो।
Moving on to the next news. Mentioning the key achievements of the Indian presidency in the finance track of multilateral development banks, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman on September 9 said that it is necessary to have bigger and more effective MDBs because the developmental demands from all across the globe are high. So these institutions will have to be better and bigger. He said, first one is the outcomes which are focused on strengthening the MDBs to address shared global challenges of the 21st century. There are 4 key highlights. First, agreement on the need for better, bigger and more effective MDBs. It is necessary to have better and bigger and more effective MDBs because the developmental demands from all across the globe are high. So these institutions will have to be better and bigger. This is also going to contribute to enhancing the representation and voice of developing countries in decision making.
Let me share with you just some of the key achievements of the Indian presidency, the finance track. First one is the outcomes which are focused on strengthening the MDBs to address shared global challenges of the 21st century. So under this strengthening MDBs, there are 4 key highlights that I'd like to bring to your notice. The first one is agreement on the need for a better, bigger and more effective MDBs. It is so necessary to have better, bigger and more effective MDBs because the developmental demands from all across the globe is so high, these institutions will have to be better and bigger. This is also going to contribute to enhancing representation and voice of developing countries in the decision making. The second under the MDBs, strengthening of MDBs, is the G20 Independent Expert Group on strengthening MDBs, and this was established and it has submitted its volume 1. The first report, their report consists of 2 volumes. The first volume has already been submitted. The report recommends a triple agenda that dovetails with the call for the bigger, better and more effective MDBs. The third point in strengthening MDBs is the agreement to collectively work towards boosting World Bank's financing capacity. Here the options will be explored that will deliver a powerful boost to the IBRD headroom to support low-income and middle-income countries. And the fourth, endorsement for the G20 roadmap for implementation of the recommendations of an independent panel on capital adequacy framework of the MDBs. So the CAF recommendations are focused on enabling MDBs to use their existing resources effectively. The roadmap estimates, this is going to be of interest for the media, the roadmap estimates that implementation of the CAF and the measures thereby will potentially yield additional lending headroom of approximately $200 billion over the next decade. So through these achievements, India has harnessed the opportunity provided by the G20 presidency to effectively articulate and embed the priorities of the Global South in the larger global conversation on the MDB reforms, of an independent panel on capital adequacy framework of the MDBs. So the CAF recommendations are focused on enabling MDBs to use their existing resources effectively. The roadmap estimates, this is going to be of interest for the media, the roadmap estimates that implementation of the CAF and the measures thereby will potentially yield additional lending headroom of approximately $200 billion over the next decade. So through these achievements, India has harnessed the opportunity provided by the G20 presidency to effectively articulate and embed the priorities of the Global South in the larger global conversation on the MDB reforms, of an independent panel on capital adequacy framework of the MDBs. So the CAF recommendations are focused on enabling MDBs to use their existing resources effectively. The roadmap estimates, this is going to be of interest for the media, the roadmap estimates that implementation of the CAF and the measures thereby will potentially yield additional lending headroom of approximately $200 billion over the next decade. So through these achievements, India has harnessed the opportunity provided by the G20 presidency to effectively articulate and embed the priorities of the Global South in the larger global conversation on the MDB reforms.
Time for a short break. We'll be back with more news.
दुनिया ते थाक्या साफा पानी कुंतु खाली 0.3% असे इदु तो खाली खाउले गर्ने एकला नहोय इदु साफा पानी तो आमी खान एग्रीकल्चर ते खावो सामान खान ओलाउले गर्ने बि चलाय आरो इदु पानी खान वाइल्ड लाइफ सपोर्ट करे एकता हेल्दी फंक्शनिंग इकोसिस्टम दिवो गर्ने इदु गर्ने पानी खान तु पोल्यूशन फ्री राखियो लागे आरो आमी खान लगा वेस्ट खान मिसामिशी रिवर बैंक्स खानते नफेलाउले लागे कुंतु प्रा पानी पोल्यूट कुरि दे साल 2019 ते सरकार प्रा
Welcome back. Amid speculations on BJP-JD's alliance, former Chief Minister of Karnataka and leader H.D. Kumaraswamy said on Sunday that issues relating to seat sharing will be resolved. Everybody is watching how the present government is running the state. Our aim is to defeat Congress in the future elections, he added.
All those things smoothly, we are going to solve it.
Sir, some say there are forces in the old Mysuru region. It is the stronghold of the
these are all
JDS.
preliminary.
BJP has already damaged it in that case. So
These are all preliminary issues. Here, the question of how many seats you are getting, how many seats we are going to contest, that is not the question. Our intention, our aim, the government, how this government is running from 2 months. Everybody watching. Our aim is to defeat Congress in this election, future election, all the 28 parliament.
Morocco's government said that 2,000 people died and around 1,500 were injured after a powerful quake, more than doubling the earlier toll, reports AP. Moroccans posted videos showing buildings reduced to rubble and dust and parts of the famous red walls that surround the old city in historic Marrakesh, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, damaged. The US Geological Survey said the quake had a preliminary magnitude of 6.8 when it hit at 11:11 p.m., with shaking that lasted several seconds. Morocco's National Seismic Monitoring and Alert Network measured it at 7 on the Richter scale. The US agency reported a magnitude 4.9 aftershock hit 19 minutes later. Three accused in a robbery case at Kanpur were arrested by the police after one of the robbers was caught red-handed. Identified as Deepak, Sonu and Sunil, residents of Naubasta of region, barged into the residence where a woman had recently died and her husband was out for last rites. Learning that the place would have no inhabitants on that particular night, the trio planned to rob it. However, things landed into trouble when one of them dozed off at the spot. One of the thieves reportedly got drunk and ended up taking a nap at the premises as the other two roped and escaped. He was held in the morning when the local police took note of the incident. The other, he claimed, stole ornaments and cash from the house. He said he wasn't aware how he landed in the house and with no clothes on his body the next morning. 2 persons have been arrested in this regard and the police have launched a search for the third and absconding accused. It was learned that Deepak was a math teacher in the region but was recently thrown out of a coaching class. Since he became jobless and needed money to live, he told the police to have committed theft along with 2 others.
मैं रात में नशा पिया गया था मैंने 2 लोगों के साथ में।
आपके साथ और कौन कौन था?
मेरे साथ सुमित तिवारी और सोनू पांडे।
ये लोग कहाँ रहते हैं?
इन लोगों को हमें पता नहीं, एक सागरपुरी में रहता है, कहाँ रहता है मुझे पता नहीं।
तो आपके दोस्त ही तो होंगे?
हाँ दोस्त हैं, जान परिचय है, बस
जान परिचय है ना?
परिचय है, जान परिचय।
ज्यादा परिचय नहीं। यहाँ आप क्या करने आए?
यहाँ मुझे पता ही नहीं कैसे आ गया, मैं आ गया, पीछे आ गया। मैं रात में जगा हूँ तब मैं देखा मेरे पास कपड़े वपड़े भी नहीं है और मैं तब चद्दर लपेटा हूँ यहाँ से ढूंढ कर और तब मैं लेता हूँ। मैं चोट नहीं दिया, अध्यापक आदमी 25 साल से आवास विकास में रह रहा हूँ, आप पता कर लीजिए। 25 साल से आवास।
किसी ने आपको मारा रहा है?
किसी ने कोई मारपीट नहीं, किसी ने कोई मारपीट नहीं, जो कुछ यहाँ पर।
Global leaders attending the G20 summit in Delhi paid homage to the father of nation, Mahatma Gandhi, here in the national capital. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi posted to X, calling Mahatma Gandhi the beacon of peace, service, patience and non-violence. At the iconic Rajghat, the G20 family paid homage to Mahatma Gandhi, the beacon of peace, service, compassion and non-violence, the PM stated. As diverse nations converge, Gandhi's timeless ideals guide the collective vision for a harmonious, inclusive and prosperous global future, Modi said. Earlier in the day, global leaders including the United States, President Joe Biden and United Kingdom Prime Minister Rishi Sunak were at the Delhi's Rajghat to pay homage to Gandhi. The G20 has contributed to making India world ready and the world India ready. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. J. Shankar said on September 9 as he underlined that the importance of India's presidency. Addressing a press conference, Dr. J. Shankar said that the start of the second session, the summit has adopted the G20 leaders' declaration. The declaration the leaders have agreed on focused on promoting strong, sustainable, balanced and inclusive growth. It seeks to accelerate progress on SDGs and has come up with an action plan accordingly. It envisages a green development pact for a sustainable future, It endorses high-level principles on lifestyle for sustainable development, voluntarily principles of hydrogen, the Chennai principles for a sustainable, resilient blue economy, and the Deccan principles on food security and nutrition, among others.
The summit has adopted the G20 New Delhi Leaders Declaration. What I would like to do is to give you an overarching perspective of India's G20 presidency. Thereafter, I would request my colleague, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, to speak about the key outcomes from the finance track. The Indian G20 Sherpa, Amitabh Kant, will then similarly speak on the results of the Sherpa track. We would thereafter be very glad to respond to your questions and comments. The message of our presidency, as you are all aware, is that we are one earth, one family, and we share one future. We have consciously sought to make this G20 as inclusive and broad-based as possible. It is witnessing the participation of obviously its 20 member states, 9 invitee nations, and 14 international organizations. It is a matter of particular satisfaction for us that the African Union has this morning become a permanent member of the G20, that too during the Indian presidency. The G20 has contributed to making India world ready and the world India ready. The declaration that the leaders have agreed on today focuses on promoting strong, sustainable, balanced and inclusive growth. It seeks to accelerate progress on SDGs and has come up with an action plan accordingly. It envisages a Green Development Pact for a sustainable future. It endorses high-level principles on lifestyle for sustainable development, voluntary principles on hydrogen, the Chennai principles for a sustainable and resilient blue economy, and the Deccan principles on food security and nutrition, among others. The transformative and inclusive role of technology has been highlighted with a focus on digital public infrastructure. The Indian presidency's proposal of a One Future Alliance has also been noted. The G20 has reaffirmed the fundamental importance of gender equality and committed to halve the digital gender gap by 2030. Recognizing that the post-pandemic world order must necessarily be different from the world before it, the leaders have also emphasized the need to reinvigorate multilateralism and reform international financial institutions. This is particularly relevant to managing global debt vulnerabilities.
That is all we have for this bulletin. Thank you for watching Hornbill TV.